If you've come for our weekend preview, you've come to the wrong place. But as you can see from the thumbnail, we've got a special episode of the Next Gen Racing YouTube channel today. We've got an Ante-Post preview towards the back end of the flat season. It's September the 1st at the time of recording. We're getting to the autumn campaign. Plenty of good action to look forward to. We've got the St. Leger coming up. We've obviously got Irish Champions Weekend. We've got Future Champions Weekend. We've got the ARC Champions Day. And we've also got racing out in America and Australia. Really looking forward to the back end of the season. It always is a fun time of the year. Jack and I are going to be providing a few selections for you guys. We've had some luck in recent months, Jack, especially with a lot of our previews, kind of our flat ones and Cheltenham ones with anti-post selections. Hopefully we can do it again.
Yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed. We got a busy old autumn campaign coming up, so hopefully we'll be able to pick one or two winners. I know we're going out to Australia, France, you name it. We've got a pick there, so hopefully we'll find a winner or two.
Yeah, and worth staying tuned as well. Jack and I have got a 20-1 joint selection for Champions Day that we'll be putting up at the back end of the preview. And we're very confident there's a great story behind it as well, so do stay tuned for that. So I think I've got 4 selections. I think Jack might have similar, but I'll let Jack go first. Who is going to be your opening selection of the preview, Jack?
We'll keep it short and sweet. Jessie Harrington has a 3-year-old filly called Ocean Quest, who I think is a lot better than a rating of 108. She won last time out at Nace pretty comfortably in Group 3 company against the fillies. I think bumping her up a pound's probably fair enough. And now I think she's got a lot more to come. She was 4th in the Commonwealth Cup, only beaten a couple of lengths by Shaquille, and should have beaten the Antarctic at Nace as well. She's very ground versatile. I think she has a lot more to come. She gets a 3-year-old allowance and a fillies allowance, so hopefully she'll be able to go one better than she did against the Antarctic. She's around the 16-1 mark for the Champions Sprint. We know Champions Day can throw up a shock or two in its time, and hopefully Ocean Quest is one of them if Kim Ross or Shaquille don't get there in one piece.
Yeah, no, look, Champions Day, it does throw up some shocks. You're looking for horses that are probably going to appreciate a little bit of soft in the going. It's never, ever really good ground. You'll always get sort of good to soft, maybe even just strong soft in the going. So always worth noting that down. Ocean Quest currently 16-1 for the Champions Sprint Stakes. I'm going to stay with Champions Day as well then. And we know how much I love my French racing. And there's going to be a long theme with my French previews here. But I'm going to go to the QE2. And I'm going to put up a horse who finished second behind Inspiral, who was favourite for the QE2 last year, and it's going to be Big Rock. Now, he was a very unlucky second in the Prix Jacques Le Mans. I think Inspiral put up probably her career best in that. I mean, it was a hell of a display, and Frankie gave her a hell of a ride in that race, was very patient with her. But Big Rock is the kind of horse, go back and watch it, he had them all off the bridle. He gets them off the bridle one by one, takes horses out of their comfort zone. He's a horse who can get 10 furlongs, but does have the pace for a mile. So he has that ability to really kind of stretch horses over a mile. And look, I know that was probably the best mile race we might have seen all season, the Prix Jacques Le Mans so far. But he's going to face new opposition. He could have Paddington, who's been said that his next likely target is going to be the QE2. He's going to be having a break before that. And obviously Tahira is in the market as well. What she's going to do, I don't know. She's having a long break. I don't know when we're next going to see her. But, you know, there again, I mean, Tahira's going to get a bit of weight allowance as a filly, but as a 3-year-old, Paddington's not going to get any. I think Big Rock has been a sensation for Christopher Head. I think he's a horse that's got a big future ahead. I'd like to think he could stay in training another season as well. I really like him as a horse. He's just improving and improving, so consistent. Obviously, he was second in the Prix de Jockey Club, which is really strong form. I'm sure that form might be referenced plenty during this Ante-Post preview. So yeah, Big Rock, 10-1 for the QE2. I don't think it's the worst price in the world. I think he'll hit the front. He'll go a lot shorter in play on the day, even if he were 10-1 on the day. So I do think that he is the one to beat currently in the QE2. Jack, your second selection.
You put up a horse who was second in the Mara, and I'm going to put up a horse that was third in the Mara. It's light infantry, and he's going over to Australia for the Cox Plate, and the mighty Zach Burton has been booked on board. 176 winners in Hong Kong, a record-breaking season for Zach over there. And I think as we saw light infantry go down under for the Golden Eagle this year, I think he is definitely worth a go over this mile and a quarter trip in the Cox Plate. Don't get me wrong, I think Romantic Warrior is going to be very, very tough to beat. But I think light infantry is definitely a Group 1 horse. He's placed in Group 1 company on 5 different occasions. And when I think he's beaten in the front in the Queen Anne or in the Marwa, he keeps staying on at the line. I think he's definitely worth a go over this mile and a quarter trip. And I think at around 14-1, I don't see him going off 14-1 on the day. And hopefully we'll find a little bit of value there. If Romantic Warrior is too good, so be it. But light infantry at 14-1 is my second selection for the Cox Plate.
Yeah, we often find the horses that are placed in Group One company over here just struggling to get the head in front over here, end up going to Australia and end up winning. So not the worst price in the world there for the Cox Plate out in Australia. Something that I used to do. I used to put up a horse for the Cox Plate for our Ante-Post preview, and not this time around. I'm going to put a horse up for the Arc though. It's time to do that now. I do think Ace Impact at around 4-1 is probably the most likely win at this stage. He does look exceptional, doesn't he? But I am going to put a horse up who I think will be in the placings at least, and it's Feed the Flame for the Pascal Barry yard, who are very confident with this horse. They've already outlined that they're confident this could be an Arc winning horse. Now, he won a conditions race in really impressive style at Longchamp. You probably remember it was all over Twitter before the Jockey Club, where he absolutely cruised to win under Christophe Soumillon, and everyone was kind of outlining him as the Jockey Club winner. He then went to the Jockey Club, and I turned to my dad after the race, after being out there, and said that horse there needs a mile and a half, and it definitely has shown, because since then he has gone to the Grand Prix de Paris and won in really good style. Demuro, I can't believe how he did this, but he sat at the back, was very patient, about 4 lengths off the pace, and he absolutely flew home to beat horses like Soul Sister and Adelaide River. It might not be the worst form in the world, really. We're not going to see Soul Sister again, but Adelaide River is a top quality horse, and don't make a mistake of that. And I think Feed the Flame, mile and a half, I think 8-1 for the Arc at the moment. Look, you can play him to win. I'll probably be playing him to win anyway. Just look, if Ace Impact were to win, I'd be quite happy to see a horse like that kind of show himself to be top class. But I do think Feed the Flame at 8-1 is a bit of value, and he'd be my selection in the Arc de Triomphe. Jack, your third selection.
I also have an Arc selection. I really like the selection of Feed the Flame. I do agree with you there. But hey, we know the criteria is double figure prices, and I've gone for an 80-1 selection, who I think has gone completely under the radar. Has also been declared for Baden-Baden this weekend in the Grosser von the Berlin, or however you want to say it, this weekend. I'm usually okay at pronunciations, but not quite then. It's all these technical issues you've been having, putting me off. But Zagre is 80-1 for the Arc, and I know he might not truly stay a mile and a half in soft ground, but I think his form is just there. It's just blaringly obvious for all to see. I mean, he was second in the Prix de Saint-Cloud last time out behind Westover. He actually travelled the best, didn't really find much. Westover has since, of course, finished very close up in the King George. And if you look at that third in the Shima Classic, I mean, that is the best race of the year so far, isn't it? You got Equinox absolutely hacking up, Westover back in second, Zagre in third, and then Mostadaf back in fourth. I mean, that is absolutely red hot form. And Zagre, as I say, I'm not too sure if he's going to stay a mile and a half on soft ground. He's not exactly bred to stay a mile and a half on soft ground. But if we don't get as much rain as we usually do year after year, which I think could be the case this year, you've seen in France, a lot of these Group 1 contests have actually been run on much quicker ground. If that is the case, I think he does actually have a good chance. Even if you go back to February when he was second to Nation's Pride. Nation's Pride's now raced 120 and gone on to absolutely hack up in a Group 1 over in Germany over a mile and a quarter. So I do think that Zagre is definitely overlooked. He's 80-1 for the Arc. If soft ground comes, it won't suit him, but he's a massive price and he's a dart that I'll be throwing.
Zagre 80-1 currently for the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe. Yeah, big price, and we've seen 80-1 tips go in for Jack in the Arc de Triomphe. Who can forget Torquato Tasso a couple of years ago? Which Jack still living off that, Jack, or not anymore?
Langenthal went and won the Coral Cup, so
that's
he changed.
True. Took over. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Right, my next tip is actually going to be a double. I'm going to put this up as a double because it's you end up getting a double figure price about it. And it's for Future Champions weekend. It's in the 2 top class Group 1 2-year-old races, the Cheveley Park and the Middle Park Stakes. And I'm going to follow the form in of the Prix Morny, and I have to do this because I think the Prix Morny was the best 2-year-old race we've seen across Europe this season. And it is the form of Van Dijk and Ramatuel, who hosed up in the Prix Morny. Those two, I mean, if you take them both, they cruise clear of River Tiber, and River Tiber was well clear of the rest. Now, Ramatuel will now be back against the fillies, most likely in the Cheveley Park Stakes, which is joint favourite, I think, at around 11-4 with Relief Rally. Very impressive Relief Rally at York. Jack and I seem to have differences of opinion, but I think Relief Rally would be better stepped up in trip, and Ramatuel will stay as a sprinter, and I think she could be just a very speedy horse, very hard to go with, and I think she kind of showed that she is, worthy of being one of the best 2-year-olds in Europe, let alone just the best 2-year-old filly in Europe. So I think 11-4, if she were to come over and handle Numa market fine. I think she'll be winning the Cheveley Park back against the fillies. And I do think that Van Dijk, I will admit, I wasn't actually that impressed by Van Dijk when he first ran. And he then ran in the Richmond, where again, I did question it a little bit with regards to how he won. But he has just taken strides forward, hasn't he? He then won the Prix Morning. I just think that, look, he's probably the best 2-year-old sprinter we've seen so far. Kind of shades of Sakir as a horse, really, at this stage, where we're kind of debating whether this horse could eventually be a miler or is he a Commonwealth Cup type horse. He probably might even step up in trip and they might try it, and then they'll probably drop him back down as a 3-year-old campaign for 6 furlongs for the Commonwealth Cup. So I do think they're both speedy horses. Remachuel for the Cheveley Park and Van Dijk for the Middle Park. I think it pays around 15.5 to 1. So that'll be my selection for future Champions Weekend. Now, the final tip on this show. I promised you a tip that Jack and I had a bit of confidence behind. I promised you a tip that we both agree on. And I promised you a bit of a story behind this tip. And the tip is going to come in the Champion Stakes at Ascot. Now, long-time followers of the race, the Next Gen Racing YouTube channel will know plenty about what happened in the Champion Stakes 2 years ago, where Sealaway won the race with Barcelona on board in the colours that are now carried by Ace Impact as well. And Jack and I both put this up as a strong win bet for Champions Day at 12 to 1. I think we were the only ones cheering the house down that day. I think most of the people there were on some of the shorter price ones, but we were on the French horse, and it's going to happen again in the same colours, and it's likely to be the same jockey as well. Barcelona's ridden this horse, and the horse is Horizon D'Or, who's currently 20 to 1 for the Champion Stakes at the moment. Like I say, in the colours of Sealaway. You've got to go and look at this horse's run, honestly. Start the season off in a race that was won by Big Rock, which was the Prix Force, which, honestly, that race there, I mean, the horse looked like he needed a run, but I take, look, plenty of excuses there. We then move on to his second run, which is in the Prix de Guiche, which is often known as the Prix de Jockey Club Trial, where he was then second by 5 lengths to Big Rock. Now, Big Rock did make all that day, had them off the bridle one by one. But again, Horizon D'Or was 4 lengths clear of the third that day, and I think 5 lengths back to the fourth. So, you know, the form there is very strong, especially the fact that Big Rock ran so big in the Jockey Club. Now, after the Jockey Club had been run, I went back and looked at the form of what this horse then went and did. And he ended up winning by 5 lengths in a listed race, which is the Prix Ridgeway at Longchamp. And then after that was a good winner of a Group 2 at Saint-Cloud, which was the Prix Eugene Adam, I'm going to call it that. A beating horse called Maniatic, who has since run a fair race. Had previously run a really good race against Ace Impact. That was at Chantilly. And then you go back and look at the third, which was Bold Act for the Charlie Appleyard. Now, the horse has come out and won a listed race at Deauville since Bold Act, and I'd actually rank the performances up of Charlie Appleby's horses at the moment, just due to the fact that he's been in such poor form. I think his horses are a lot better than what they're showing this year. I don't think things are fully right with his horses, so the form is so strong. Now, you go and look at the Champion Stakes currently and try and find the winner, and you are scratching your head a bit. Is there a clear horse in there that, you know, you could say, if it turned up on the day, is a banker? And there isn't really one in there, and Jack will probably explain that in a second. But Horizon D'Or's 20 to 1. The plan is with this horse, speaking to one of my Racing Post colleagues, Scott Burton, to find out, because he did a wonderful piece with the owners of Ace Impact, who obviously own this horse as well. He mentioned to me the plan is to go to the Prix Prince d'Orange, which is this weekend at Longchamp. Then the plan will be go to the Prix Dollar, which is a bit different to how Sealaway was campaigned, because Sealaway went to the Arc and then the Champion Stakes. And the plan will be to end the season in the British Champion Stakes. So the plan is to go there. 20 to 1 is far, far too big. Jack, do you want to kind of just chat through the Champion Stakes and probably agree with the fact that there is no real standout at the moment?
Yeah, no, there's no real standout at all. I completely agree with you. I was actually first pointed to Horizon D'Or. I saw him win and I thought, wow, he could be a Group 2, Group 1 performer. But a friend of mine, Joe, if you're watching, shout out to you, pointed me to the Horizon D'Or Champion Stakes market. And it was very intriguing, of course, the connections we've done it in the past with Sealaway. He just knows exactly where the winning post is, doesn't he? And he does it so impressively on any ground as well, over a mile and a quarter. There's no questions with regards to trip. There's no questions if he's going to turn up unless there's an injury issue. But if you look at 20 to 1 these days, in terms of Ante-Post markets, that's probably about 33 to 1 on the day, because there's literally just the over-round these days with Ante-Post markets. It's just, there's no room room for wiggle room whatsoever. But if you look down that market, Ace Impact won't be going. Mostadaf will need the ground to come up. What it's not going to be probably on Champions Day. Desert Crown, I doubt he'll be seen again on a race course. King of Steel has a lot to prove in the Irish Champion Stakes, and if he does go and win that, they'll probably be looking out to America rather than the Champion Stakes. Auguste Rodin likewise, and I just don't really see him coming to the Champion Stakes. Bay Bridge is the only one, again, at a double-figure price you could probably actually make a case for. But then even then you've got Alflaila, who's been declared for the Irish Champion Stakes. Will we have the bounce factor there? There's a lot of question marks surrounding a lot of them, so I do think 20 to 1 is just a huge price. He's got the form in the book. I mean, he's very impressive with regards to the ground. The connections have done it in the past. We know it's the plan, and 20 to 1 is just ludicrous, isn't it?
Yeah, look, it's not the strongest Prix does Orange this weekend as well, so he's probably going to go and win that. He'll probably then go to the Prix Dollar as a favourite or one of the favourites for that race. If he wins that, he's going to go off a single-figure price, well, easily a single-figure price. He could end up going off sort of 5 to 2, 3 to 1 if he were to win both of those races leading up to that race. Like we say, a lot of horses are likely to come out of the Champion Stakes, so if he's a one that's going to be turning up, he is going to be a short price for that race if doing what he needs to do in the races prior. So Horizon Door, a joint 20 to 1 selection. I'm sure you'll be hearing more about that. We'll probably be referencing it hopefully on our Champions Day preview when that comes around at the back end of October. So there we go. You can see all of our selections on screen. They are autumn campaign selections. We'll call those Ante-Post selections for a few horses. We will be previewing these weekends and races individually closer to the time. We can make reference to these Ante-Post selections, but worth taking note of some of the horses that we've mentioned, especially Horizon Door, who, on the scenes, if that were to go and win on Champions Day, really would be something special. But yeah, look, take what you want with those selections, but I'd point you in the way of the Champion Stakes one if I was to point you anywhere. There we go. So that is it for this week's special. Like I say, there's no weekend preview. If you do want to see some of our selections, if we do have any selections for this weekend, you'll find those on our Twitter pages. Jack, like I say, look, we'll be back next weekend. I think we've got Irish Champions weekend next weekend, so we'll be previewing that, won't we?
It is. It's the Irish Champion Stakes. It's looking like an absolute cracker.
It is, yeah, looking forward to that. Potentially even seeing the return of Kyprios as well. We're waiting to find out whether that will happen. So we'll be previewing all the top class group action from Ireland next week. And as always, do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Give the video a like. Comment down below with any Ante-Post selections you may have moving forward for the back end of the flat season. We will see you again very soon. Thanks for watching.